What if the life you've been living isn't a lie because of some hidden simulation or grand conspiracy, but because you've been tuned to the wrong signal all along? Not many people realize that existence, at its core, isn't based on solid matter or fixed laws. Long before science had the tools to measure atoms or chart magnetic waves, ancient civilizations whispered the same idea: everything is vibration. Centuries later, modern physics is finally catching up. It turns out the foundation of our universe isn't solid substance. It's energy in constant motion, fluctuating frequencies, interacting in a massive, invisible network. Now think back to all those moments in life when things didn't work out, when the promotion slipped away, when a connection broke down, or when a perfect chance passed you by without reason. These weren't random misfortunes, they were energetic mismatches. You weren't tuned to the same channel as the outcomes you were chasing. You see, the people who seem to effortlessly attract what they desire aren't relying on luck or intelligence, they're simply aligned. Their internal energy broadcasts a frequency that matches what they want, and so it comes to them. No force, no fight, just natural response. For generations, this knowledge was locked away in temples and hidden texts. It was protected, passed only to the few considered ready to understand it. But that secrecy is dissolving. Today's science, quantum mechanics, neuroscience, biophysics, is saying the same thing, just in different language. And here's the truth most people miss. You don't have to chase your dreams. You just have to match their vibration. Everything you've experienced so far was shaped not just by your actions, but by your energetic signature. You are constantly emitting a signal through your beliefs, your emotions, even your unconscious patterns. You're not just a person going through life. You're a living transmitter, radiating a specific frequency every moment of every day. And that frequency decides what shows up in your world. Now ask yourself, are you stuck because you're unlucky? Or are you simply broadcasting the wrong signal? Science tells us that 99.99999% of all matter is empty space. What seems solid is mostly gaps filled with vibrating particles. Your body, your environment, your relationships, they're not fixed structures. They're clusters of frequencies interacting with one another. Your emotions aren't just feelings, they're electrical currents. Your thoughts aren't just mental chatter, they're energetic pulses. Your heart doesn't just beat, it radiates. A magnetic field far stronger than your brain's output. And here's the most powerful part. You're not just reacting to reality, you're shaping it. Even when you're unaware, you're affecting the world around you. Your presence influences people, places, and even probabilities. Your thoughts and emotions form patterns that ripple out into your environment like invisible waves. Think of your inner state like a radio station. Whatever signal you're tuned into becomes your soundtrack, and it echoes back into your life. If you're broadcasting scarcity, you block abundance. If you're vibrating anxiety, peace doesn't stick. If you're radiating doubt, trust can't find you. But if you shift the frequency even slightly, everything begins to adjust. This isn't mystical poetry or spiritual fantasy. It's energy, it's physics, it's real, and it leads to one simple realization. The life you desire isn't waiting somewhere out there. It's already here, vibrating at a different frequency, just waiting for you to match it. Step back from the noise for a moment. Really step back. What if the events in your life, every person who entered or exited, every moment of success or struggle, weren't determined by chance, luck, or talent, but by something more subtle? Something always active, always transmitting. That something is your energetic signal. You're not just living in the world, you're constantly shaping it. Your thoughts, emotions, and inner beliefs combine to create an invisible frequency that moves through space like a broadcast tower. And just like a radio station only tunes in to certain songs, the universe only responds to certain vibrations. Here's the part most people miss. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. If your inner frequency is scattered with doubt, fear, guilt, or frustration, it doesn't matter how much you wish for abundance or peace. You'll only pull toward you what matches your current state, not your desires, your signal. This idea isn't new. Ancient cultures from all corners of the world hinted at the same principle in different forms. Whether it was Egyptian mysticism, Vedic scriptures, Taoist philosophy, or Kabbalistic teachings, they all agreed on one thing: reality is energetic. not material. Today, modern science is echoing what sages always knew. Quantum physics tells us that matter is not solid. When you zoom in far enough, everything is just a cloud of probabilities vibrating with potential. And guess what determines how that potential collapses into form? Your observation, your perception, your emotional state. When you think something, when you feel something, you're not just experiencing it internally. You're changing the field around you. You're sculpting outcomes through subtle but real shifts in your energy. Take a look at your life, the patterns that keep repeating, the moments of ease or chaos, the opportunities that seem to appear out of nowhere or vanish without reason. All of that, reflections of what you're energetically aligned with. The truth is, every person is a signal. Every signal is a magnet. Every magnet draws a mirror. You can't fake the frequency. You can't pretend to be aligned. The energy you carry speaks, louder than your words, louder than your social media posts, louder than your plans. It speaks even when you're silent. And here's the secret no one teaches in school. You don't need to force outcomes. You don't need to chase things endlessly. You only need to change your internal station. Imagine waking up and tuning into calm instead of chaos. Imagine walking into a room and your presence shifts the atmosphere, not because you're trying, but because your energy is grounded and centered. Imagine setting an intention and watching events rearrange themselves to support it, because your frequency already matches that outcome. This is not magic, it's alignment. This is not wishful thinking, it's resonance. Start viewing your life through the lens of energy and everything begins to make sense. The missed connections, the sudden breakthroughs, the repeating cycles, they were never random, they were responses. If your reality seems filled with struggle, it doesn't mean you're broken. It just means your inner broadcast needs retuning, because energy doesn't lie, it just responds. We often think our mind is the boss, that logic rules, that thoughts lead, that intellect drives our lives, but in truth, the real commander isn't inside your skull, it's beating in your chest. Your heart does far more than keep you alive. It sends out a massive electromagnetic field, one that extends well beyond your physical body, one that pulses with information, intention, and emotion. And here's the shocking part. The magnetic field created by your heart is over 1,000 times stronger than that of your brain. This isn't theory. It's measurable, it's been proven. And yet most people go their entire lives without realizing that their most powerful tool for creating change isn't what they think, it's what they feel. When your heart and brain work together, not in chaos, but in sync, you become a coherent being. And in that state of inner harmony, the signal you send out becomes precise, powerful, undeniable. This is the missing piece in so many people's lives. They set goals, they think big, they visualize. But if the heart isn't engaged, if the emotional energy doesn't match the mental image, then the signal is scrambled. Your heart doesn't whisper, it broadcasts, and what it broadcasts becomes your reality. Now consider this. Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt tension, even if no one was speaking, or felt uplifted just by standing near someone who radiated joy? That's the heart field at work. It's not mystical, it's magnetic, and it changes everything. When the heart generates high-quality emotions, love, gratitude, appreciation, it creates an energy pattern that is smooth, consistent, and clear. That's what scientists call coherence. And coherence is not just a calm feeling, it's a powerful, organized frequency that interacts directly with the world around you. So what happens when your heart is aligned with your thoughts? Your intentions stop floating, they land, they manifest. This is why some people seem lucky. They're not just wishing for good things, they're energetically matched to them. They're not chasing success, they're not begging for love. They're simply tuned in to the right rhythm, and the universe responds accordingly. And here's the beautiful truth. You don't need to be special to access this power. You just need to be intentional. Coherence is not a gift, it's a skill. It begins with one simple act: paying attention to how you feel, not just when things go wrong, but in every ordinary moment. Train your emotional state like you would train a muscle, because the stronger your emotional alignment, the more clearly the universe can hear you. Most people assume that thinking is enough. They repeat positive phrases. They visualize their goals. They try to stay positive. But despite all that effort, nothing seems to shift. Why? Because they've misunderstood the real driver of change. Thoughts spark the signal, but emotions give it power. Your ideas may be clear, your intentions strong, but if your emotional state doesn't match the reality you want to live, it's like trying to send a message through a broken transmitter. Think of it this way. Thoughts carry direction like electrical impulses. Emotions act like magnetic forces, pulling experiences toward you or pushing them away. And the universe? It's not listening to your words, it's responding to your energy signature. Let's say you keep affirming abundance, saying things like "I am wealthy" or "I attract prosperity," but underneath those words you feel fear, anxiety, or lack. You're still broadcasting scarcity, and that's what the world reflects back. Emotion is the translator between your internal world and external outcomes. It doesn't matter how often you speak your goals out loud. What matters is whether your emotional state supports or sabotages those goals. Now flip the script. What happens when you genuinely feel the emotion of what you want before it shows up? You're no longer waiting. You're embodying. You're already vibrating at the same frequency as the result. And in that moment, everything begins to align. Doors open. People appear. Circumstances shift. Not because you pushed harder, not because you figured it all out, but because your energy invited it. High-frequency emotions, gratitude, joy, peace, love, aren't just nice to have. They're keys. They unlock levels of reality that stay hidden when you're stuck in fear or frustration. Meanwhile, low-vibration emotions, shame, anger, guilt, worry, act like static. They blur your signal. They create noise. They block the flow. This doesn't mean you should avoid uncomfortable feelings. It means you need to process them, not let them run your frequency. When you allow your emotional state to evolve, you stop chasing outcomes and start living in resonance. You'll notice the difference in subtle ways. You'll stop feeling desperate for answers. You'll begin trusting timing. You'll feel lighter even before anything external changes, and that's when things begin to move. True manifestation isn't about forcing results. It's about feeling the outcome so clearly, so vividly, so fully, that the world around you has no choice but to reorganize itself to match. Picture an iceberg floating in the ocean. Above the surface, you see the tip, the part you're aware of, the decisions you think you're making. But below the waterline, that's where the real mass is. That's where the real power lives. That's your subconscious. We like to believe we're in control, that our conscious thoughts and logical planning are steering the wheel. But science and ancient wisdom agree. Roughly 95% of what you experience is governed by unseen mental patterns, buried deep beneath your awareness. This hidden layer of the mind is where your true frequency originates, not from your morning mantras or surface-level affirmations, but from the deep-rooted scripts running in the background. You might be saying, "I am confident," but if your subconscious is still echoing, "I'm not good enough," the frequency you send out will always match the latter. This is why so many people feel stuck. They're doing all the right things on the outside, but on the inside they're still wired for self-doubt, fear, or failure. You can't override old programming with positive thinking alone. You have to rewrite the code at the source. And here's the key. The subconscious doesn't speak the same language as your rational mind. It doesn't care about facts, logic, or spreadsheets. It responds to emotion, repetition, symbols, and experience. That's why ancient cultures used ceremonies, chants, rituals, breathing techniques, and storytelling, not just for tradition, but for reprogramming. They knew something we forgot, that change begins not with what you know, but with what you embody. Modern psychology and neuroscience are now confirming what mystics practiced thousands of years ago. You can access and update the subconscious through repeated emotional reinforcement, symbolic imagery, state shifts like meditation or trance, consistent inner rituals. Think about how many beliefs you carry that were never chosen consciously. Ideas implanted during childhood, patterns inherited from parents, messages absorbed from culture, religion, or past trauma. And yet those beliefs act as filters for every experience you have. They decide what you believe is possible. They determine how much love, success, or safety you allow in. They shape your energetic baseline. Here's the truth. If your inner blueprint stays the same, no amount of hustle will change your external life. But if you shift what's beneath the surface, your entire reality begins to reflect that new vibration. You can't fake this work, but you can learn it. You can practice tuning into your deep shape a mind, not to control it, but to teach it something new, to introduce signals of worth, peace, abundance, and possibility, to gradually overwrite the old noise with a new rhythm. It takes commitment, it takes consistency, but once your subconscious shifts, the world outside has no choice but to match the upgrade. You've heard enough about mindset, enough about just be positive. You already know it runs deeper than that. Real transformation isn't about wishing or forcing, it's about reconfiguring your inner system. Changing the signal you send out requires more than motivation. It requires tools, not external gadgets, but internal mechanisms that recalibrate how your energy flows. Here are 3 powerful methods to shift the core of your frequency. Techniques that aren't just theory, but practices that create measurable change when used with intention. Heart-mind synchronization. Forget the myth that the brain is the command center. When your emotions and thoughts are going in opposite directions, you're scattering your energy. That's when things stall. That's when progress feels like pushing a car uphill. But when your heart's feeling and your mind's intention match, that's when alignment happens. You send out a unified frequency that's not just strong but incredibly clear. This isn't fantasy. It's been mapped by science. When you feel elevated emotions, like appreciation or inner calm, and hold a specific vision at the same time, your body shifts into a coherent state. Waves from your heart and brain literally begin to synchronize. In that state, you're no longer chaotic. You become a beacon. And that beacon draws in opportunities, people, and pathways that were invisible before. Breath as a reset button. Most people take thousands of breaths each day and never pay attention. But the breath isn't just oxygen. It's a messenger between 2 worlds, the conscious and the subconscious. When used correctly, breathing can quiet mental chatter, release stored emotional tension, and regulate your entire nervous system. Ever felt tightness in your chest when you're anxious? Or a knot in your stomach during stress? Those sensations aren't random. They're signs of trapped energy, held inside your body until you release them. Intentional breathing patterns can clear mental fog, move emotional blocks, restore clarity and stillness. You don't need hours of training. Just a few deep, focused breaths can open the floodgates of change. Every inhale is a message. Every exhale a release. Used with awareness, your breath becomes a tool of transformation. Awareness of the body's language. Your body keeps the score. Every disappointment, fear, and suppressed emotion settles somewhere within it. Over time, these unprocessed moments accumulate, not just as tension, but as energetic weight. You might carry sadness in your throat, anger in your jaw, fear in your lower back. Most of this happens beneath the radar until you pause and start to feel. Somatic awareness isn't about reliving the past, it's about becoming fluent in your body's signals. Start small. Where do you feel tight today? What part of you feels numb? Which sensation are you avoiding? Don't analyze, just observe it. Then breathe into that space. What happens next is subtle but profound. When you bring gentle, non-judgmental attention to your physical sensations, they begin to shift. Energy starts to move. The body releases what it was holding, and in doing so, your vibration begins to elevate, not through effort but through release. These aren't mystical tricks or abstract ideas. They are practices grounded in both ancient wisdom and modern understanding of how human energy works. When you apply them regularly, you're not just raising your vibration, you're building a new inner structure, one that supports peace, clarity, and creative power, and the world around you. It can't help but notice the difference. There's a part of your mind that listens when everything else goes quiet. It doesn't analyze, question, or debate. It just absorbs. That part, it's your subconscious. And if you're not communicating with it intentionally, it's still receiving messages from your habits, your environment, and your emotional reactions. But here's the secret. If you want to change your life, you don't need to work harder. You need to speak directly to the part of your mind that's actually in charge. Let's get something clear. You don't need to be asleep to reach your subconscious. You just need to bypass the mental gatekeeper, the filter of logic that stands guard during most waking hours. This filter softens during transitions, when you're falling asleep just as you're waking up, or during deep meditation, when your brain drops into slower, more receptive rhythms. That's why nighttime affirmations are so powerful. They don't get blocked by overthinking. They go straight into the soil of the mind, where belief takes root. but words alone won't do the trick. Your subconscious understands images, repetition, emotion, and symbolism, not spreadsheets or rational explanations. That's where visualization becomes a vital tool. Not imagining passively, but creating an internal reality so vivid that your mind begins to treat it as real. Use color, sound, texture, engage all senses, create scenes that feel emotionally rich. Anchor your desire in feeling, not fantasy. The more detailed and emotionally charged the scene, the faster your subconscious adapts to it. Because for your subconscious, emotion equals truth. But there's more. The words you say, especially at the edge of sleep, can be transformational. Not generic phrases, but powerful personal statements that affirm identity. I am steady. I trust myself. I create my world. When these declarations are repeated with sincerity, they don't just motivate, they rebuild the narrative running in the background of your life. And here's the most overlooked part. Reprogramming is not a one-time event. It's a daily relationship with your deeper self. You're not installing something artificial. You're revealing what was always true beneath the layers of doubt and noise. Your subconscious isn't your enemy. It's not sabotaging you. It's just following outdated instructions you never realized were there. The beauty is you can write new ones, with attention, with consistency, with messages that reflect who you truly are, not who you were conditioned to be. Each time you close your eyes with intention, speak truth with emotion, or hold a vision with clarity, you shift something inside. You update the frequency, you redirect the flow, and over time the outside world begins to mirror that shift, because the subconscious doesn't care what's real. It only cares what's repeated with feeling. So if you want a new reality, stop arguing with what is. Start feeding your deeper mind with what could be until it becomes the only thing it knows. If you made it this far, it means something inside you is already shifting. You're not just watching a video, you're remembering, you're realigning, and that matters because awareness is the first real movement toward transformation. Now I want to hear from you. What part of this message resonated the most with you? Scroll down and leave a comment. Your insight could spark something powerful in someone else too. And if this content sparked even one new realization in you, hit that subscribe button and become part of a growing space where conscious creators are tuning into a new frequency of life. Here's your challenge. For the next 7 days, start your morning by asking yourself one question. What kind of energy am I choosing to carry today? Write it down. Speak it out loud. Let it guide your decisions. You don't need to control every detail of your life. You just need to control the vibration you show up with, and trust this. When your frequency shifts, the universe always listens.